I can't tell you how surprised I am to be here. You know, 23 years ago, my wife and I went to a therapist, and she seemed to think I was drinking too much. And I remember in that meeting saying, I will never stop drinking. And a week later, I was in rehab and haven't had a drink since. It took me a little longer to get here. And with that, let's dive in. At the turn of the century, you know, there were at least 500 factories that employed thousands and thousands of people, and all they did was make candles. And they made candles for obvious reasons. You needed candles back then. And there was big ones, short ones, fat ones, skinny ones, colored ones, smelly ones, all different kinds of candles is what they made. And then a guy named Thomas Edison came along, and the electric light bulb came into being. And all of these candle factories kept making candles until there's probably 2 or 3 left in the entire world, you know, major candle manufacturers. They all died away. A major transformation took place, and people kept trying to hold on to the old models with obvious results. We're in that transformation now, and any of us who think that this is going to be short or temporary, or that we're just going to move on back to 2006 is just wishful thinking. The truth of it is that it was a profound economic collapse. The truth of it is a lot of these jobs are never coming back. A lot of reasons for that. Mechanization, global competition. You know, with the current model in America of paying what we pay workers to work, it just makes no sense to produce a lot of things here. And quite frankly, we're much more accountable than a lot of other nations in the world. You know, our country means a lot more to us than maybe some other countries, their land and environment mean to them. The cost of doing business in America is always going to be greater. And I think it's because we do have this profound love for this country that wants to protect it. And so as a result, that's not going to change. But we have to recognize the long-term consequences of that, and that is the good old days are not coming back. They're just not coming back. We have to become more competitive, more innovative, and more creative than any of us have ever dreamed of if we're going to see this city prosper and thrive. Because there is no longer enough to go around. That's just the simple state of being that we find ourselves in. And as a city, we have a choice. We can recognize that, and we can get brutally honest with ourselves. We can find out what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and compete with the rest of the world in ways we never thought we'd have to. And we have to think about it every single day if we're going to be successful. But we are uniquely situated here so that we are able to do something that is truly remarkable if we're willing to get away from the old models and develop new ones every single day. I met with the new president of the AV Board of Trade. The biggest hurdle they have to bringing employees here, meaning high-end engineering employees, is our schools. And it reminded me of what the woman who was primarily responsible for building Shenzhen in China. Shenzhen is a city of 14 million people. It is the most beautiful city I've ever seen. It is the cleanest city I've ever seen. It has the best rapid transit I've ever seen. It is truly shocking to be there, but you can't breathe very well because it's China, and the air quality leaves a lot to be desired. But other than that, it is truly the most magnificent city I think anyone's ever created. And they created it in 35 years. 35 years ago, it was a fishing village with a couple thousand people. She told me they made one huge mistake, and she was one of the principal builders of the place, is that they didn't recognize that it doesn't matter how beautiful the downtown is. It doesn't matter how many nightclubs you have. It doesn't matter how many of anything you have downtown if you don't have your good schools there. Because the people that you want to attract downtown into the city are going to go where the schools are. That's your Generation X, now becoming Generation Y. They will move where the greatest schools are. If you go out to Soar High School, you'll see the most amazing thing I've ever seen in the field of education. Every one of those kids who graduate, they graduate with at least 1 year of college credits. Every single one of them went to a 4-year college, is on their way to a 4-year college. Bob, you got it wrong last time. That's the statistics. They come there, the only thing required is a C average. These are not your best and brightest students necessarily. They do require parental involvement with the students in an interview to come there. But once you get there, there's requirements. You got to attend, for heaven's sakes. You got to show up, that principal requirement there. And you got to maintain a certain level of effort if you want to stay there. Very minor changes. And then they use the latest and greatest teaching techniques. If you want to know the latest and greatest teaching techniques, go out to Del Sur. What they're doing out there is truly remarkable. Some of those teachers are beyond belief as to how cutting edge they've become, right here in our area. So it really seems to me that it's up to us. We know what we really have to do. We have to insist that in Lancaster, if you come here, there are choices you can make to have the best education below grade 12, that it's available. We are making that available to the people that come here. We want at least one school from kindergarten through 12th grade, meaning multiple schools, where if the children meet the requirements, they get to attend, and it will compete with Harvard Westlake. It's a big order, but look how much we're spending. And if we do that, everyone in this room will become wildly successful, because this is where the money's going to be. This is where the people building the new manufacturing facilities want to live. This is where all the latest and greatest stuff is once again going to happen. It will happen here in Lancaster. We should have a charter school in Lancaster that will compete with Harvard Westlake in every single thing they do. I think it's time. And so in the next couple of months, when you start hearing about a charter school wanting to come into the Lancaster School District, I'm going to need your help, because you know where we want to take it. It's not about the school. It's about all of us. It's about our community. It's about growing Lancaster into something truly magnificent, because that is going to be the first step. The city is doing wonderful things. I can't tell you how exciting it is to work with this group. Remember when the election happened and I first got elected? A few of you remember it. Things were a little bit chaotic at that time. Mark was the temporary city manager. Everybody thought it was doom and gloom. My opponent wanted to fire him and bring back the other guy. And a lot of people in this room thought maybe that wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, let's be honest about it. That's what we all thought. But what I got with Mark Bozigian was unbelievable, truly unbelievable. He has operated that city with 45 employees down now. I think, what was that, 20-some percent? Where's 20% down? With 20% less people, we have done more in the last 2 years than anybody ever dreamed could be accomplished, with 20% less people. But there's a problem, One of the problems is we have people working for free. They come in on the weekend. They come in at night. They're not getting paid. We're supposed to pay them. We don't know quite how to deal with it. But that is the level of commitment within that city administration now, is they're literally working for free sometimes. The leadership that I've seen in that city is just unbelievable. Vern Lawson in economic development in just the 2 years that I've been there, have done some of the most innovative, creative things ever been accomplished in a city. Remember that stimulus project we did? Where if you bought a car, you got $300, and you bought so much else, you got, what, $35 or something like that? Well, that could only be spent in Lancaster, at Lancaster Merchants. You know how hard that was? Think about it. How do you do that? You can't do it with a credit card. Credit cards can be spent anywhere. How do you do that? Nobody had ever done that before, where they had geographically created a debit card that could only be spent in one city. They did it. It was magnificent. Nobody's duplicated it yet. It's the level of creativity that I see in that city. We have Steve Goki from the school district that comes in. Unbelievable what that guy did. One day he said, let's have a go-kart race. You saw the go-kart race, didn't you? It was a national event. It was truly remarkable what we have to work with. And I guess why I'm bragging about them so much is because if you're not involved with this city, you're missing a wonderful opportunity to work with creative, dynamic people that have a place for you to come help. We're looking for ideas. We're looking for people who want to get involved. We're looking for people who want to change the place they live in. The council that I have, they're embarrassingly white, middle-aged. It's embarrassing to look at them. But they are so incredibly diverse. The diversity amongst those four it's a functional diversity that, one, keeps me in check, but two, is constantly feeding me ideas that I get to take credit for. Most of what you see has really come from those four. And it's not just the city council they're on. It's on the ABTA. It's on the sanitation district. It's on the air quality board. All of those are major endeavors in and of themselves. And then they still have to be on the city council. Nobody truly understands the amount of work these people do. And it used to be the mayor would go to those things. I don't. That's not how I view my role. I am not sitting on those boards. The only focus I have right now is the city itself, and so it's being delegated out. And that's why those commissions and foundations are so critical. That Criminal Justice Commission we put together, Sandy is the vice chair of that, I think. It gives us a reach into every aspect of this community. The school districts, the hospitals, little things like, where thousands of hours of sheriff's deputy time was going when I first got elected, before the Criminal Justice Commission was created. They sat in the emergency room waiting for some guy they just arrested to get treated. We had 5, 6 deputies sitting in the emergency room for hours. The Criminal Justice Commission comes along and fixes it with a phone call, because Mark Brown is in charge of the emergency room. With a phone call, it was fixed. We put thousands of hours back on the street. And that is the reason why, if you're not involved in one of those commissions or one of those foundations, you should be. Because this is where you live. This is where you make your money. I don't know any way somebody can really have a sense of well-being without being deeply involved in their community. I think God created us that way. Think about it. In the time that Jesus walked, how small the villages were. That's how we were made to operate. We were made to be deeply committed and involved to our community. And somehow we let that get away from us. They're telling me I'm already out of time. And in spite of all this economic collapse, the city staff has kept a 10% operating reserve and something called a 20% stability reserve that they still haven't quite explained to me what that is, but they keep telling, they haven't. But they keep telling me I can't spend it. And there's a little disjunct there, but okay. I gotta tell you, if Mark has a failing, he's the cheapest city manager you'll ever see. He pretty much says, I can do whatever I want as long as I don't spend any money, which has become quite a challenge at times. But look what's being accomplished with volunteers as a result. You read in the paper about the partnership we had with Hunter Dodge. That was an emotional meeting. Thank you. But that is an example of what we're talking about, where we're having an economic focus that was never there before. We really want every business in this city to succeed. And if it makes sense and the risk is manageable, we're diving in. That's just the way it's going to be. We have to be economically viable. That's one of the reasons Chevy came, is they recognize that we're not just giving them money to, well, actually, we weren't allowed to give them money. Sometimes litigation can truly be a blessing. Don't always assume getting sued is a terrible thing. It saved us about $1 million. And they came. But one of the reasons they came and Subaru came, I had a meeting with the regional people of Subaru to get them to come to Lancaster, is it's not just the building we're helping them with. We're going to help them sell the cars. They have access to our website. We're going to push whatever we need to push. We're going to do whatever we can do to make it a viable place to sell cars. And we're doing that with every business in Lancaster now. And yeah, people are going to complain and moan and say it's unfair and do all kinds of things. And that's okay. I'm used to it. And I am, And you folks got to get used to it too, because it's different now. It's a different model. We have to start worrying about our community. And what is it going to take for our community to be wildly successful? How many like the Lancaster Boulevard? Have you thought about why you like it? Why do you really like it? I think it's because it restores a downtown marketplace that we were built to love. That's where we see our friends. It's where we gossip. It's where we meet people. I go down there on weekends and just sit and read because I just love it, because there's so much community going on around me constantly that we missed somehow, that evaporated before we knew it was gone. And now it's back. When you get depressed, I would suggest you go down to the boulevard. It's a different experience. There's just something about it. And we're not done yet. One of the things we're doing is we're doing a lot of science in this, how we do this city. Pretty soon you'll be down there in those speakers, you'll be hearing bird sounds. It'll seem like a lot of birds are there. Why? Because the scientists tell us if you use bird sounds, cortisol level drops. Your feeling of security enhances. That just exposure to it 15 minutes a day will make you happier people. Just bird sounds. And of course that's true. What happens when the birds quit chirping? Somebody's trying to eat you, That's how we're built. We're built for those nature sounds. And so we're putting that down. That's one of the things we'll be putting that down there. The museum will be magnificent. The movie theaters will be magnificent. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on solar energy. One of the reasons is, when I came in the door, they said, "Don't say anything about Edison." Gus, why would you tell me that? That's like me telling my daughter not to date that boy. By the second daughter, we knew not to say that. But Kathy, you've done an amazing thing. I was saying but she's arranged a meeting with the vice president of Edison to come and talk to us, because one of the things I want to do is make Lancaster a research and development city for alternative energy. And of course it should be. We didn't know 5 years ago, not any one of us in this room knew 5 years ago, that we are the premier location in the entire world for solar energy. The best place in the world. It's our latitude, our longitude, our elevation, our air quality, the availability of transmission lines that are both here and coming. All of that makes us the center of the universe when it comes to solar power. We were making decisions just 5 years ago that didn't take that into account. We need to recognize that now. What we were to aviation 30 years ago, we will be to alternative energy very soon, very, very soon. But the goal, and what I hope you guys help us with is in California, to do any type of alternative energy, the processes they have to go through are stifling. You know, it makes you not want to do it. It makes it so it's not profitable. But if we could get a designation in the state that this is the research and development city, imagine what we'd be able to do. We can cut away through all that. Because in this city, if it's a project we want to see built, every one of those developers will tell you, we are waiting for them. They never wait for us, because that's the rule. We look for reasons to say yes. We look for reasons to get it through. One of the guys I was talking to, he's out of Goldman Sachs, Lex, Heslin. He's coming in with, if it's not $1 billion, it's close to $1 billion to build this beautiful Earth solar fields. And he's got a magnificent idea. You put a beautiful Earth stamp on the product, it means it did not affect the environment one iota in the making of it. Has no carbon footprint in the making of that product. Look what they pay for the Prius, which has an incredible carbon footprint. It actually doesn't make either environmental or economic sense, but nonetheless. But because it appears to be good for the planet, people will pay 15 to 20% more for that car than they will a comparable car. Lex recognizes they'll do that for a box of soap, right? They'll do it for anything because they're going to put the factory right at the solar field. And all of the electricity will come from that solar field that powers the plant. And you get a beautiful Earth stamp, which is going to be a worldwide trademark because they got the money to do it. I mean, they really can create something from the ground up. We're going to see thousands and thousands of acres of those solar fields. And with that will come the factories. With that will come the jobs. And with that will become a revitalization of this whole city. You know, we have to really recognize both that we are on a world stage. Could you bring me some water, Jai? We are on a world stage. And more importantly, we can compete on that world stage. This is a picture at the World Economic Forum. And Mike Antonovich sent me to go over there and sign his name to something. That's all I was supposed to do. And all of these people around this big circle, that's just part of the circle, are from all over the world. The House Majority Whip is the guy sitting right over there to my left. I guess my right, your left. And all of them were talking about what they were doing in alternative energy in their city, their country. And as they're going around the room, I'm realizing, uh-oh, everybody's got a speech. And it's coming my way. And I don't have a speech. So I immediately started writing out a speech. Mark thought I was taking notes. You know, he said, he hits me, he goes, it's not that interesting. You know? And I told him what I was doing. And I started the speech by saying, we are the alternative energy capital of the world. And everybody, you know, gave me that facial expression of disgust and contempt and, you know, who is this guy? And then I proceeded to tell them what we were doing. And by the end of it, they knew we were. You know, we are the only city in the world that has produced a house in 4 months, by the way, from idea to completion, that stores the energy it produces from the ceiling. She's telling me to speed up. Produces more energy than it consumes, the only place in the world, and it's affordable. Absolutely affordable. Happened right here in Lancaster. Happened in Lancaster because the city, BYD, and KB got together and formed a partnership. We also learned a lot of ideas that we'll be talking to Edison about as ways to really drop our energy consumption. The people who have the energy in the next decade are going to be the people who rule the world, and it really has to be us. I'm going to race through this. But there's a lot more we can do. You know, 70% of our water is wasted. Ultimately, I'm going to come right up, we're all going to come up right into a brick wall when we start building these factories. They're going to say you don't have the water. And we do have the water. It's just we waste 70% of it watering lawns. We're going to, as my wife says to the kids, bite the stick. You know how they bite, you know, when they take the bullet out, they'd bite the stick, you know. Whenever they're whining about whatever she's made them do, she just says, bite the stick. We've got to bite the stick. We've got to change the way we live. We've got to get rid of those lawns. We've got to stop wasting the resources that we're going to need if we're going to grow this into a magnificent city. I am out of time, aren't I? Okay, up to you. You want me to finish? It's 10 minutes, or you want me to end? Okay. My wife has got me excited about these books about the blue zones, places on this earth where the well-being of the people who live there is demonstrably higher than any other place. You know, all age groups, demonstrably higher. The people are actually happier. You know, their feeling of well-being, of satisfaction is so much greater. And it turns out it's in the neighborhood. You know, we have to quit abandoning these neighborhoods. How deeply you're involved with your neighborhood has a lot to do with how happy you, your wife, and your children are. And if you don't know your neighbor's kids' names, you have deprived yourself of something that will truly enhance your well-being. And so that's what we're trying to reestablish. And we're doing it with the neighborhood impact homes. There's going to be 5 of them very shortly. Every one of those neighborhoods, kids have a safe place to go. They have a place where they can study. They have a place where they can play. They have a place where they have tutoring, all of it within the neighborhood itself. The wellness homes, we have the highest mortality rate in the county, probably the state. You know, it's dangerous to live here. And there's dangerous for a lot of reasons. Health-wise, you know, the diabetes in this city is crushing. It's crushing worldwide. I went to the World Health Organization meetings. This whole idea of free health care or national health care, whatever it is, it's nonsense. It's total nonsense. The wave of diabetes coming at us is so great, it would bankrupt the world if we really treated it, if we really treated the health conditions that are coming at us. Heart disease, cancer, all of it obesity related. I think we could do something about it within our city. But where do you do it at? You do it in the neighborhood. Anybody who wants to have some kind of impact with the wellness of this community, get involved. We need volunteers. But Kaiser and HealthNet have the doctors, the nurses, and everybody there working on it. It's real stuff that's going to make a real difference. You know, we're going to start doing a much bigger push. You know, we got the bike rides, we got the walking, but we're going to be doing a much, much bigger push about the awareness of health in this community. You know, most of our people, they live on fast food. It's just the nature of it. We have to change that because we cannot have a sick city. And that's what we have, is under the surface of this city, the people are sick. We have more people dying here in the Antelope Valley than anywhere else. To me, this is a unique opportunity. I mean, how I value existence is the impact I'm having. You know, I think that's how you value existence too. This is within our grasp. Tomorrow I'm meeting with the premier obesity experts, childhood obesity experts in the world, with the hope at UCLA of designing a program just for this city to start attacking that. If you want some exciting things to do, get involved. We got some great things coming. What about that, huh? I mean, look at that. When Sheriff Baca came to Lancaster Baptist Church and told AV War on Gangs, there were 3,000 people there, that he was going to drop it to under 300, which is the guidepost for what's safe and what's not safe. I didn't believe him. His own men didn't believe him. Nobody believed him. But he did it. He promised the impossible, and then he delivered it. You ever hear anybody talking bad about Sheriff Baca? Kick him in the shins. That guy is our hero. What he did for this city was truly remarkable. We're approaching this city in a different way. This is a great book if you want to read it. I read it about 3 months ago. It's about, normally what we do is those represent people, right? We spend all our time dealing with the people on the fringe, right? The 1-2%. You know, but if you start recognizing that it's the people in the center and how they're connected that really makes the difference, then you start a whole different systems approach to the way a city's run. The Mongol situation, remember that? You know, My wife remembers it. When we fenced off the Desert Inn and wouldn't let them come. The criticism of that is that what I should have done was allowed them to come and just have the police presence and deal with any problems as they developed. That's dealing with the fringe, right? To me, it was real simple. You got to deal with the problem. The problem is that when these people come together, they're dangerous. Don't let them come together. You know, chain link fence worked wonderful. Nobody got hurt. Nobody. You know, yeah, we got sued. Okay, I can deal with that. An influenza outbreak happens, right? We can inoculate 97% of the people, or we could inoculate the 30% in the middle, the ones who have a lot of contact with people. Same result. Absolutely the same result. Obesity. It turns out obesity goes out 3 levels. You know, if your friends are fat, you get fat. You know, it's amazing the science behind this connectedness. And in the city, we're trying to develop where those connections lie. We're certainly doing it in crime, but we're going to be doing it in a lot of other areas too. That's why I'm talking here, as a matter of fact. You guys are the ones in the center. You're the connected ones. If we're going to grow a truly magnificent city, it will start here. You know, Rotary West has always been the connected group. Start doing something with it. Start talking to people. Start telling them why we have to change this city and how we get to change it. I think that this is going to be the most fabulous place to live because we're starting to do that. We've already talked about that. You know, people are laughing about my smile zone on Lancaster Boulevard, where you have to smile. You know, actually, I'm going to have smile lessons because there's a way to do it. But when I became mayor, people were always looking at me, and I thought that meant they wanted to beat me up. You know, and so I had this hyper-vigilant. My wife said, Rex, you cannot go out in public if you look like you want to kill everybody who looks at you, you know, because it was a scary process. It was different, you know, so I had to learn to smile. And it was really, because when people are staring at you, your inclination is not to do that. My life changed, I've changed, you know, and I realized, let's just have Lancaster Boulevard, the place where we all know we have to smile. If you see somebody, I got to smile at you. Even if you don't like me, I got to smile at you. Okay? Even if he's wearing a Vago motorcycle coat, you got to smile at him, right? The difference is amazing, truly amazing. That's why we go to Wyoming on vacation. Ever been to Wyoming? You know, they do this finger wave off the steering wheel, right, as they go by. Your finger gets tired. You wave at everybody, but that's why they go. It's because the people know how to treat each other. What they've done out at Del Sur School is, you know, they took the fear level from 40% of the kids being afraid when they go to school down to about 4%. Think about that, 4%. If you want to go to a great school for your kids, send them to Del Sur. It's just in a total different place. They do not tolerate people picking on people. It's a whole different world. I think we could do that in our city. I think we can do that in our neighborhoods if we just start paying attention to it. And again, look what happens when we do it together. I thought the Hunter Dodge story was truly what we can do together. It's recognizing we are all in this together. It's a partnership. The solar fields, what we're getting ready to do on that, you know, we got these thousands of acres, but an acre belongs to this guy, and an acre belongs to that guy, and this guy's dead, and you can't find who owns it, so you can't put it together. But if the city owns part of that solar field, we can use eminent domain. Put them together, have city-owned solar fields producing power. We have to find ways to make money in this city that's independent of taxes. I don't think it's going to be hard. It just requires us to think a little differently. Wait for the theater to open downtown. You're going to love downtown. Nobody's going to have to go to LA again in 5 years. We are not going to have to go to LA for entertainment within the next 5 years. They might, in fact, be coming here. I know you don't believe that. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And back to the candles. We have to recognize that our function as a city is not making candles, it is making the light. And the companies that realize that it's making the light is why they exist, They survived. Cities are very similar to companies, I think. We have a function. What is the function, the true function of a city government? I think it's about providing a place where people really can pursue happiness and finding different ways to allow them to do that. Because we know people are truly happy when they're in small groups. When you have a lot of small groups in a city that are actively involved in the city, people are happier. If your kids are going to great schools that challenge them, where they're not afraid to attend, you have an opportunity to pursue happiness. If you're afraid to walk out your front door, it is impossible for you to pursue happiness. It's impossible. It's even impossible to get in the car and go out to LA to pursue it, because just the movement from the door to the car has ruined your day. Cities are a place where we provide the means for people to pursue their own happiness, whatever that means to them. And the cities that recognize that that is truly their function, I think will still be around. Thank you.